right, let's do a little post-market wrap up on what we saw today and how everything played out that I talked about in the pre-market, and then come up with kind of a little tentative game plan for what could happen in overnight, and then also what we're going to see tomorrow. So let's get it started. All right, so let's break down this day. So what we had was this. We're going to get our arrow going. Here we go. So let's talk about what happened today and what we kind of called pre-market, and then the levels that we're looking at, etc. And yeah, so the open today was right up here. It was like at whatever, it was like right up here, right at this line. I called pre-market that we're going to sweep this quickly. Yeah, so look at this. So here's my note. Test of this zone is likely at open. We sold off. We plummeted it down to that zone. It was super easy call. Here's another pre-note. Okay, so volume in this zone shows spotty strength by bulls. A rapid break higher. So I was thinking this, a break up, and then a taper. And then we should be seeing a volume build in this range is what I was thinking. So I was thinking that a pop up to 30K, but then a close below, or a close in the low 19 or 2980s was kind of what I was expecting. So we didn't get the pop. We didn't build the volume. And that this didn't happen, but this is still this trade is still in existence. Said a break into this range was likely, right? And this was posted at like an hour before the open or something like that. So we got this big breakdown right at the open. I'll bring that up in another chart here in a second, and then let's see how our levels played, right? So we have our low volume node up here. Overnight, basically went up there and hit it. We had this upper range is kind of broken into, or was kind of broken into, two distribution zones, kind of like subzones, if that makes sense. The middle of which is basically within this breakdown zone from Monday. So we basically opened right at this line. Didn't even go above this line. I mean, we basically went up to here and then we sold off. Sold off all the way down into here, and then we kept selling off into this low volume node right here. Then we came up and we bounced the 5 and the 25-day point of control, and then we sold off again. We sold off into this warm butter zone. And in this warm butter zone, I had a note pre-market that I put up that said a volume build in the zone could indicate a retracement down to 29,500. Sure enough, we built a little bit of volume right here. This is super interesting. And then we came back up, and it was somewhere around this time frame here that I was talking with John, and I was talking about how we would need to have a severe or serious volume build in this area, and then acceptance of these prices before we went higher. And instead, what we did was we accepted price here, we accepted price here, we moved up to the POC, we moved up to the top of the zone, and then price attempted to move into this volume that was established in London last night. Price failed in the zone that we had marked out, and then we went down and we filled in this area here. Now this area I had marked out as well as a place that I was expecting volume to build, and this I think I had this marked out back all the way to here. So I was looking for acceptance. I was looking for acceptance below this low. And we built the volume here. We broke into the warm butter. We moved up higher. We failed to break into the upper distribution, or like not even the upper, like the middle distribution. Came down. We spent a little bit of time in this area that I had marked out on the chart. We went back into the warm butter, and then we created some pretty serious acceptance of price. And one of the things that we're noticing with this acceptance of price is that these are bell curves, and this to me means that there's a very real acceptance of price here, and it's a slow and it's a gentle acceptance of price. And then also looking at the time, seeing the bell curve at 10:30 in the morning means that the volatility of the market is probably out, and London is closed, and price is accepting lower, and we're probably going to trend lower. We had some low volume nodes down here. We made a push down, made a push back up to the warm butter, rejected down. All these lines were on the chart before we got there. I mean, this almost seems like too perfect, right? We came down here. We have kind of an important point of control right here on 520. Didn't hit it. Came back up. Came back down. Came back up into the warm butter. Still, we're looking at this volume down here, and it's at this point right now that we're kind of seeing like a little bit of acceptance inside of this taper. So this is telling me that like price probably might be in this warm butter zone for a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but it's going to take, I think it's going to take, I don't know. I feel like this was a very kind of half-assed attempt by the Bears to push price down here, and they failed. And to me, this warm butter zone right here is kind of neutral territory. And the fact that I mean, like this is kind of a B-shaped curve, or B-shaped bell curve, or B-shaped profile. But like, I look at this and I'm kind of like, yeah, but we're in the warm butter, which means that like the volume down here, the volume in this distribution said, no, get out of here. And they pushed us higher. But there's not enough interest to own it above the warm butter, right? And when we look over here and we look at the volume, this is kind of like a giant low volume node in between two larger distributions. So like when we zoom out, I mean, like volume filled in down here, but all of this earlier today was like very pronounced. This was a pretty pronounced low volume node. So it looks like this down here too, right? So like this right here is kind of a warm butter zone too. So let's see. Yeah, it's a warm butter zone. So let's mark that in. Let's mark that in. So let's go copy move drawing. Yep. So here we go. And All right, so we're looking at that. All right, we have this point of control right here. I don't know if this is so relevant or not. So here's what I'm thinking going into tomorrow. CPI data is that we have key volume at 28,500 and 29,750. Right. So let's do this. Let's just build our argument right here, right? So all right, so we have key high volume nodes at 29,750, 28,500. That's where it was at, right? 28,500. Um, $29,450/350 is the border between uptrend short intermediary. And this is kind of how I'm seeing this market, right? So this is, I would say this is pretty important. So let's go. There we go. So this is probably my key going in. Market's up like 2,500 points, like 10% in the last like very short period of time. I think we got to go over to a different time frame to kind of break that down, what exactly is happening here. So this is kind of dope. So this was our day to day and how everything worked out. So this was our open dash white line. You can see this came down, tested this low volume node, tested the POC, tested the warm butter, came up to that low volume node, bounced between that and the POC forever. Went up, tried to build volume in the zone that we marked out, failed, went straight down, built volume in the zone that we did talk about again. We broke down, struggled against this low volume node, moved down to the bottom of it, built volume, had the breakout, came back up. This orange line is initial balance right there, sold off, came down to this low volume node, and then basically by this point right here everything's blurred, right? Like this is just like closing volatility, so that we could probably just like delete this and not even care about it. But this is a line in the sand, right? This 533 is a line in the sand. I was expecting a little bit more violent and we moved down. This is where I got chopped up. I basically tried to short through this whole thing, and I did get the short, and I got out at the bottom. I tried to short it here. It took a little loss, but like I'm actually pretty happy with how I traded today. But even though I took an L. But how do we look at this going into tomorrow? Tomorrow we have the slow volume node right here that we're filling in. The more we trade here, the more we fill in the zone. The more we fill in the zone, the larger this zone gets. And I don't think we're going to see a zone that stretches all the way from here to here. That's a massive zone. That's a 975. That's a 500 point zone. And that's kind of absurd. I don't think we're going to see that. But we're building volume in here. And so we're kind of repairing this low volume node. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Part of me thinks we're either looking for a volume build here to go higher, or here, probably like right about here, maybe a little lower, maybe like it's no, probably like right about here to go lower. So if I was gonna, if like somebody was saying, dude, you gotta make your argument on what's gonna happen. I need to see some buying there, or I need to see some volume build here, right? So this is more or less what my argument is going into the day. So I would say that is tough to identify. Hold on. So let's move this. I want to see volume build there. Yeah, I think that we could. Yeah, I think we're looking at this. So like something like this, I think, is going to tell us kind of what the next step in the market is. It'll be interesting to see if we move up here and try to build volume and then we fail because we have all of this volume up here that's just waiting to cascade, that's waiting to exit, right? Waiting to be made whole is how I'm looking at it. And then we have this volume down here. You know what? I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna move this up. I'm gonna move this up. This is where I'm looking for the volume build. I think this is it. I think we're so when we look at places for the economic data to hit tomorrow, our obvious spots are going to be 2750. This has played a huge role in the market for several days. I think we can call it 2,500. I have a line here at 20 or at 29,520, but it's probably more like 29,500 because that's like a round number, but it's this zone. VWAP currently is right here. That makes sense for wherever the VWAP is at when it's time for the numbers to be released. It's going to be key. We have this is kind of interesting. So, wonder what this volume profile, what the other. Oh, it only goes to like that far. Okay. Stretch that out. Go all the way over here. Look at that fucking volume profile, man. Wow. It's a major rejection up there. It's a major rejection. We have a taper all the way down to the bottom. There is this crazy attempt right here to bust up to there. Wow. That's interesting, especially with those lines, because those lines have been there since well before that price action. Let's try to zoom out maybe a little bit more, see what's going on. Yeah, so we have this, we have all of this volume down here, right? We have all of this volume down here. It's kind of been supportive, and this is kind of a high volume node right here. So that makes sense for why this line is drawn. That's the middle of this zone, and this is played for a while. We kind of have a shit low right here. So like there's very little like this could get repaired. So like looking at the range, I'm looking at kind of this. I'm thinking to myself, oh man, this is just like drops off. There's no volume here. So so we got this warm butter right here. Yeah. So maybe maybe instead of calling this warm butter, we could say that this is no, I mean this is warm butter, but this is probably needs to be repaired. We probably need to spend some time in there. But this is Trump's economy. This is Trump's market, and Trump will probably figure out a way to send the right ceasefire text or the right whatever tweet to rally this market to make it go higher if it dumps on CPI data. So we gotta be looking for market manipulation. I gotta say, I mean, like looking at this market right now and seeing all this price action happening up here, and then seeing this low volume node right now, and then seeing where price is at the moment, it's hard not to be bearish down to here, down to this 450, you know, or like 465. I guess it might be like a better level. I'm actually gonna change that. Yeah, let's move it up. So like this guy right here, this 465. Yeah, I think it's vulnerable. All right, that's it. That's my 2 cents. I don't have any clear vision on where this market's going to go. I just am wondering if we're going to get price acceptance here and pop, or price acceptance here and breakdown. Is basically how I'm seeing this market.